Best it will ever be. That's a poetic way of saying that this era, this world, our world, is doomed.
All right, let's start with that. So we're going. Dan Alford, back on Saving the Dream.
Michael Sullivan, thanks for having me back.
Thanks for being available when I had a last-minute cancellation.
Worked for us.
So the guy that was coming in today, so a funny thing is I met him at this event I went to a couple weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. It was an industry event, and his name is Lewis. And he was actually like pouring the champagne at this event. It's like a side gig for him. He's really like, he teaches kickboxing and some other stuff. But I was talking to him, and he said that he's from, he moved here from New York. He's from the Bronx, I think. Because we were talking about Yankee Stadium. So he was one of the, like during a couple years ago when all that medical stuff was happening and a lot of people were moving here. That bug that was going around. You heard about it.
The fodemic.
We have to be careful how we talk about it, though, because whenever I try to promote an episode, the Google Ads shuts me down if we say certain things about that particular scenario. So
that'll teach you.
So anyway, he was one of those, back when like they were talking about people were leaving other. So he left New York and came here, and he has like a really interesting story about that. And I said, "Do you have any friends who did the same thing from other places?" And he said, "Yeah." So anyway, we were going to have a couple of them, and then and we were going to talk about that. And then he had a last minute emergency, so personal family emergency. So I don't think it was because he was hungover. I think he actually had
it was legit
an emergency. So although if I ever call you and tell you that I have a personal, like a family emergency, it probably means I had a hard night. So, but fortunately you got a top. So let's start with, were you a Boy Scout? You were a Boy
Scout.
Cub Scout?
That's ironic. I was a Cub Scout and didn't get
You're always prepared.
I never got past Cub Scout. But then later I was a high adventure scout leader. So apparently I'm more qualified to host scouts or teach scouts.
All right.
High adventure scout leader is the way to go.
What's a high adventure scout?
That means we take them into dangerous stuff and then we don't let them get hurt. So we did 90 miles on the Mexican border here in Texas of whitewater during a flood stage without any problems at all, I'm proud to say. So yeah, that's my involvement in
Parents
scouts.
let them go.
People trust me.
Okay.
90 miles whitewater, no problems.
90 miles? How long does it take to go 90 miles?
When it's not flooding, it usually takes a week. We went so fast we actually took some layover days, we called them. So
it takes a week usually.
Yeah.
A week. So you get out occasionally.
Oh, you
don't stay in the
sleeping
water.
in the desert every night.
You're not sleeping like in the raft.
No, we were canoeing. I was kayaking. That's
okay.
But,
okay.
You ask about scouting, you got it.
All right. So anyway, you're prepared, and I really like. What was that last quote that you just said?
You're going to get my reading list as well as my opinions. Okay.
All right.
So this is my current reading list. Peter Zehan. I recommend him.
Zehan. Do you know this guy, Trev?
Look him up. It used to be with Stratford, which is strategic forecasting, which they claim is like the private.
But I asked Trevor because he's our like resident knowledge of weirdos.
Yeah. Well, no, this guy's not weird. He's pretty mainstream, but he has the best, most comprehensive view of the world.
Zehan.
Yeah. And so I've been reading his books, and I also listen to his YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I recommend it.
He's pretty good looking, I got to say. He's kind of jumping around the screen right now, but
he's all about geopolitics.
Yeah, geopolitical strategy. He looks a little bit like a younger Baldwin. Could be. Doesn't he look like he could be like one of the Baldwins, like a younger one? You don't.
But if you read his stuff,
how good of a shot is he?
Oh, too soon.
But I just finished his last book. Let's see, This United Nations.
Okay.
Yeah, that was really good. I intentionally picked his next to last book because I wanted to read it first. Now I'm on his latest book, which is The End of the World is Just Beginning. Okay, and so he's all about geopolitics. So he says that a country that does well has difficult to cross borders and a chewy interior, by which he means has transportation, good agriculture, a homogeneous population. Great stuff. I recommend it. But his thesis is
that sounds just like us. Wait.
It is just like us. So you thought that Americans were something special? We're just geographically blessed.
Yeah, you talked about this once before, but our population has become less homogeneous. Well, what does homogeneous population mean? Does it mean that like everybody's the same color or the same culture? Everybody's speaks the same language.
On the same team.
Yeah. So
early on, everybody's just trying to survive, and so as societies mature, I think their divisions increase rather than decrease. Same people,
certainly as they get bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Peter's thesis is, after World War II, we decided we would protect the world from communism, because those are bad, right? And we did it with...
Well, the jury's out on that, apparently. When I grew up, communism was bad, but now, apparently, it's just another form of government.
I don't know. I'm a... What was it? A unrepentant global free market capitalist. So that makes me a non-communist, I believe.
Well, so the funny thing about communism is the whole bit about the economics aspect of communism is just a red herring. See what I did, Trev? It's a red herring.
Clever.
Because communism really, he gets a couple of claps. Communism really, from the authors, the creators of communism, their goal was not. I got it. Thank you. Their goal was not really to create an economic system that works for people. Their goal was to consolidate power and centralize control.
Well, now you're just being cynical.
And maintain control. I mean, well, if you read the Communist Manifesto, it's clearly an instruction manual for how to consolidate power and retain control. So the whole economic way of taking care of people, being different from capitalism and working better and all that, that's all bullshit. That's not really what communism's about.
Well, Carl said, from each according to their abilities, to each according to their needs. Great in theory, but bad in practice.
Right, but you have to read what comes before that, which is, here's what you tell people. And then what comes after that is, so that we can maintain control. That's the whole thing is in those bookends, all of it.
Well, to me, capitalism is a huge motivator. The more you do, the more you get. And that is what made America great, more so than even our political system. That's my opinion.
Even before we had red hats. So,
But Peter says the reason after World War II, we decided we would try to crush those damn communists. And we did it with guns and butter.
Guns and butter.
Yeah. So we armed the people against those evil communists, but we also facilitated free trade all across the world. And so that's what...
Is that the butter part?
Yeah, well, that's what his version of it is.
Okay.
And so that we facilitated the free trade all across the world, made the oceans safe, made free trade possible, made globalism possible. And his thesis is we no longer need that. And so as that goes away... That was this statement here. Since 1945, the world has been the best it has ever been, the best it will ever be, which is a poetic way of saying this era, this world, our world is doomed.
Okay, let's read that again. So
it ain't going to get any better. It's only going to get worse.
I know, but we gotta process it. So what does it say?
It says, I gave you the backstory, which is why it was better is because of trade. Whoa, free market capitalism. I knew I was right. And so that is going away because we'll no longer protect the trade routes.
Oh, right. I got you. Yeah.
And demographics are going to crush entire countries. His thesis is China will go first. They had this one-child policy.
Yeah.
And then 50 years later, you reap what you sow.
Yeah. Well, China's not the only one with the population problem, right? Trev, isn't it Japan and somebody else, and who? What are all the ones that?
Most of them
that are declining population.
Everybody that doesn't have 2.1 child.
Sure. Not the. Yeah, there was. You were talking about this recently.
We're on the brink of it.
Yeah, the U.S. is on the brink of it.
But we have immigrants, and we're not the worst case. I recommend the book.
Okay, recommend the book.
I wholeheartedly. But I found something else in the front of the book, in the introduction. I'm not even through this one yet. And it made me, anything that reinforces your own opinions, what do they call it?
self-reinforcement.
Yeah, something like that. And so, you love to read when somebody says you're right. And so I have been shocked at what people are concerned with nowadays.
Okay.
And then they're concerned with, in my opinion, trivia in face of real problems. And I thought, well, either I'm just a
old guy,
out of touch old guy, or I was right. And then so
people are concerned with
silly stuff.
Yeah. So people are concerned with shit that doesn't matter, so my observation has been I don't understand why all of a sudden things that seem to be that were never of any great concern before are suddenly like so urgent that it has to be in your face all the time, right?
The cynical view is it's misdirection.
Okay, well, let's come back to that. So, what are some examples of so when you look and you see we're focusing on the wrong?
Well, I got a whole quiz for you, but I got to quote Peter though because it vindicates me. So, he find it galling that issues such as safe spaces in colleges devoid of divergent viewpoints, transgender bathroom policy, and vaccine benefits have crossed in the proverbial town square, much less all but crowded out issues such as nuclear proliferation or America's place in the world.
Okay, wait, can you do that one a little bit slower? Because I didn't quite get it all.
I just saying that we're focused on the wrong stuff. And then last weekend, right here in Houston, Texas, what was on the front page of the Chronicle? Well, first let's start off what was on the 5th page. The coup in Russia.
The coup. Yeah.
That's huge.
Now,
that's going to change our world. That was on the 5th page, and on the front page was a story about a transgender child. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
So the front page was on the Houston Chronicle, Houston's only newspaper, regrettably. Well, I mean, because a city this big should have more than one. But so there was a story about a trans kid on the front page,
and you have to go all the way to page 5 for a coup in Russia they were trying to change the way the the Ministry of Defense worked, and it was huge, and they're actually driving towards Moscow.
Yeah. Just helicopters, the whole thing.
That just was a perfect example of where our so-called news agencies are.
Now you could argue that perhaps maybe because that whole coup thing was late breaking. Like we didn't even hear about it until what was it? Saturday morning. Well, this was Sunday. But if you read the Wall Street Journal, which is the other paper I've subscribed to because I'm a dinosaur and I read the newsprint. I'm a journal reader. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that was on the front page of the Journal.
So they got it.
So which one's right?
So all right. So here's the thing. If it were missing from the Chronicle completely, you'd say, well, it was too late. They couldn't get it in. But they did get it in.
They did get it in.
They got it on page 5.
Page 5, lower left. And as I recall, upper right is the top story.
Yeah. So, front page story about a trans kid. I
don't get it.
I don't know how that's news, but anyway, okay.
It's not.
So you got any other examples?
Well, no. So it's something I've been thinking about, and then that kind of like was a glaring example to me. So I've got a test for you here. Okay. So you have to tell me which one is more important to you.
He's got his pen out.
Oh yeah, no, we're going to score
this. Which one is more important to me?
We're going to score this. Okay. What do you consider to be more significant to our society today? COVID or
the second one?
Antibiotic resistance infections.
Yeah, second one.
What do you consider to be a more significant pollution concern to America today? Carbon dioxide or nitrogen oxide, sulfur oxides, carbon monoxide, and particulate pollution?
How many options were there?
It's either CO2 or all the others.
Oh, well, so I am of the mind that I believe that we haven't quite proven that CO2 is a pollutant yet.
But the others are pollutants.
Damn sure are.
Yeah, they are pollutants. Because I haven't seen a single plant ingest nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, or particulates.
Yeah, they like the CO2 though.
They eat CO2. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay. And in fact, we're working on a biological solution to the CO2 problem. It's solar powered and it creates building materials in the process of absorbing CO2. It's called trees. Okay. Now, what do you consider?
I should have seen that one coming.
Economics now. What do you consider more important? Making jobs or locking down the economy?
What do you mean by locking down the economy?
for COVID? Which one would be?
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to say the first one, but I want to say that with a caveat, which is that making jobs sometimes is not great, depending on how they're made. So, for example, if you read like Henry Hazlitt's Economics in One Lesson, he explains how every time the government does something, some sort of government program that's supposed to create jobs, it really typically doesn't help the
That's
economy.
the government creation of jobs. Like I meant real jobs.
You meant real, okay, yeah, and that in which
Not
case,
the
yeah.
largest employer in
Well,
America.
because if you're talking about like policy, sometimes you have these policies that come out and they're supposed to create jobs, but it's usually not a good plan. Yeah.
No.
Okay. All right. So. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, now, do you believe which one's more important to us?
I feel like Trevor should have done this as well, but
Well, no, and I'm sure. And that's what's interesting is if we had a more diverse audience, we'd get some different answers. But do you believe which one's more important, creating tangible goods or printing money?
well,
Which one should we focus on?
I mean, I guess if you're running out of money, you got to print more. But
Why not just create tangible?
Yeah,
I'm going to give you.
obviously
I'm going to give you a tangible. Okay. Which do you think is more important? COVID vaccination mandate or reduced voluntary children vaccinations?
Well, those are two like sort of ideologically opposed notions.
But one causes the other.
All right. So what were the options again? COVID
Mandates
Well,
have actually reduced the number of voluntary children vaccinations.
Oh, to reduce the number of voluntary children.
Right.
So
'Cause that's all voluntary.
does that mean you're increasing the number of required children vaccinations?
There are none. There are none.
Well, there are if you want to send your kids to school.
Well, that's true. How many vaccinations can any country require up and before COVID before you travel to their country?
I don't know.
One.
One?
Yellow fever.
Yellow fever. So, in general, so for my whole life, I was not opposed to vaccines because
Vaccines made modern civilization possible.
Right.
But by mandating something which is relatively minor, what they've done is unwound decades of voluntary vaccination compliance. That's what I have got a problem with.
Yeah. So, my opinion on vaccines in general changed when I stopped trusting the medical industry.
See, I travel. I'm vaccinated for Hep A, for Hep B,
Sure.
yellow fever.
All those old-fashioned vaccines were fine.
I like those
That was
old-fashioned
before
vaccines.
they started like
But we're
having agendas to do shit
yeah,
with
but
the
now
vaccines.
we're turning people against all vaccines, and that's the problem.
And that's the problem, right.
I'm going to give you credit for that one.
Also, the other thing is we've changed the definition of what is a vaccine.
Yeah.
Because it's
mRNA or a
well, also what is the outcome of it? So it used to be that the outcome of a vaccine was that you were now immune to the thing. Now we've kind of changed in fact, we don't even call it immunization, because remember when we were kids they called it immunizations, but they can't call it immunizations anymore because it doesn't really immunize. It just reduces the harm that you may suffer
apparently not. But
at the hand of the evil.
well, no vaccines are ever perfect.
Right.
But the best thing we got.
But I never got. I mean,
polio?
I never got smallpox. I never got polio.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank a doctor. Thank a scientist.
Yeah. All right. Next.
Okay.
Next one.
Okay. Which one's more important to you, global warming or global war?
Global war. Global warming or global war?
Yeah. Which one's more significant?
Well,
as a
neither one
threat?
is happening right now. So no.
Right, but I mean,
I'm just joking.
Which one keeps you up more at night?
Well, the climate thing doesn't keep me up at night. Although I can't say that the war thing really keeps me up.
Yeah,
at
but a
night.
nuclear war, that stuff just doesn't wash out.
Yeah, that's true. But we've escaped. But we've avoided it so many times before when we were so close.
You don't think we're on the brink? Huh. Good. I feel better.
I don't think we're on the brink.
Oh, okay. I'm going to give you partial credit. Okay. What do you
But there's a reason why I don't think we're on the brink, and that has more to do with conspiracies than it has to do with sensible people in the room. But anyway, go ahead. Next.
Well, there's people deploying tactical nukes as we speak.
Oh, yeah.
That's destabilizing.
Has there ever been people not deploying tactical nukes?
Sometimes when you deploy them into small islands near Florida, we nearly start wars over that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But we didn't.
Yeah, but now we're putting them in Belarus and it's all good?
Yeah, well.
What's different? I don't understand. Help me out with this.
So, well, it depends on what you... Well, let's finish the quiz and then we'll come back to this.
Which is more significant to you? Shutting down fossil fuel power plants and farms?
The second one.
Or food and energy shortages in the future?
Oh, well, shit. Okay, that's a good question. So...
Which one are you going to prioritize?
All right. So food and energy shortages will only happen. So if that happens, it will be self-inflicted. Do you know what I mean?
We're shutting down farms in Europe.
So I'm saying it's self-inflicted.
Right. And so we shouldn't be shutting down farms. We should be making more food.
It's not like somehow the earth is no longer able to provide the food and energy that we need. Like we're doing it to ourselves. Yeah.
Well, that's the other side. So you can go one way or the other. Do you want to shut down farms, or do you want to be concerned with food and energy shortages?
Well. So if you shut down fossil fuel plants, then automatically we're going to have food and energy shortage.
Yeah,
energy
that
for
can't
sure.
be good.
So
okay, I'm going to give you a few more.
Okay.
All right. Which borders are you more concerned with, Ukrainian or U.S.?
Yeah, definitely the U.S. Definitely more concerned about the U.S. borders.
Last question. Which one's more important to you, liberty or uniformity?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm not a fan of uniformity, and I'm a big fan of liberty.
See, you and I are right on the same page with this thing, and so...
But I feel like... So did you make that quiz up? Because it's a little bit rigged.
You're saying I might rig something?
It feels a little bit rigged. Yeah.
I just quoted the book to make it legitimate.
Although I guess if you were to ask that question to some people, they probably would.
Oh yeah.
So some of the answers that seem so obvious to us, to some people, they would.
One of these questions goes back. I knew a young woman who was studying environmental science at A&M. Okay. Now this may be an A&M thing, but I asked her, so what's the bigger threat? Nitrogen oxides and sulfur oxides, or CO2?
And what did she say?
What do you think? CO2.
How long ago was it? She said CO2.
Yeah. Is that Aggies, or is that woke people, or is that?
I think.
Is that propaganda?
I don't know. Well, I mean, did she say why though?
Because the news told her.
Yeah. Okay. So we're back to the news thing.
Yep. We're back to the news.
So, go ahead.
That's my problem with it. But I've got a theory on what's going wrong. Okay. And I've got more reading recommendations.
I think So we probably don't need a whole lot of examples to show that the things that are being presented in the news is I mean, what's that little girl's name over in Europe who shows up at all the
Greta.
The world, yeah, Greta.
The one that said the world would end last week.
Yeah, well, give or take.
How are you feeling? I'm okay.
I feel all right. What's her name? Greta
von
Schustenbacher. What is it? Yeah. So she gets like major coverage. She gets invited to the what did we decide we're calling it? Is it the WEF or the WEF, Trev? It's the WEF. It's the
y'all were saying WEF.
WEF, but it's the WEF.
I don't think you pronounce it. I think it's the World Economic Forum.
That's a mouthful, though. You can't really, and yeah. So she gets, she gets prime, or even, there were some people. Actually, all right. I'm going to say this to my risk of my own peril. Barack Obama said something a couple of days ago that I actually kind of agreed with. Doesn't happen very often. He said basically he said it was a disgrace too, that there was so much emphasis, so much news coverage, so much national attention on the this submarine.
Oh, yeah, the one that was
right.
the tourist on the Titanic.
Yeah, which by the way had already imploded days prior, and the Navy already knew it. Probably
Because you should never use a carbon filament structure in compression.
Yeah, why?
It's good intention.
Anyway, the story was obviously held. So, for days, everybody's going. I see, Trevor. I was trying not to chew the ice for you. For days, everybody's like, "Oh, these people, we were looking for them. Are they still alive?" Da 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 da. The thing had obviously like imploded.
We knew about it
days prior. The Navy had to know. They got
We have
sensors,
acoustic sensors everywhere.
all on the bottom of the ocean, right? So, but what Obama said was, why is there so much attention on that, and almost nothing about these 300 poor souls that died in the Mediterranean trying to escape, to Greece or Turkey or wherever they were going. Greece, I think. Right?
Is it a pigment problem? What's going on?
A pigment problem? Well, so the funny thing is, a lot of people. So these five rich people that. Sorry. You can filter that out later, right? Edit
they
that
led
out.
a long and good and happy life.
Yeah. So, but there was a lot of people who were like hating on these people in the submarine because, well, basically like it's obscene because it cost $250,000 to make the trip. So there's a lot of people who are hating on them because it's obscene that you make $250,000, or that you make so much money that you can afford $250,000 on this pleasure cruise, this joyride, whatever it is. And everybody, so there's this whole national, and then there's other people who are coming to their defense and saying, "Hey, these people are the adventurers. These people are."
They're passengers.
These people are the adventurers. They're the explorers. They're the people, right? So we're having this whole national debate on whether these people that died in this submarine are basically like heroes or creepos. And meanwhile, 300 people. There's like a ship that turns over. People are fleeing an oppressive regime. So it's a pigment problem? Is that what you're saying?
It might be.
I don't know. Were they all white people on the submarine?
Of course.
No, the one guy's from Pakistan.
Oh, was he? Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know what it is. Or
that's the cynical version.
What you said is it misdirection?
Don't know. I'm going to give you one more reading assignment. Okay, this is something.
I feel like I need to be Johnny Carson with the cards. Like, okay, next.
So, Sir John Glubb, Glubb. This is actually, you can find this on the internet. I don't think you can find it anywhere else, and it's free.
Glubb?
It's the Fate of Empires and the Search for Survival.
The Fate of Empires and the Search for Survival.
And this is a very old thing, 76.
Can you find that, Trev? Find it.
Yeah, he'll find it. You can pull that up directly on the internet.
The Fate of Empires and the Search
That's
for.
only
I'm sorry, you got to work every once in a while.
50 pages. It's fascinating. I'm going to read one quote, and this may.
Oh, you got it already.
This guy's good. Okay, I'm going to.
John Baggett, is that his name? Baggett. The Fate of Empires. Oh, look, there it is. Do you want to go to a particular quote? Where do you want to go?
If you can find this one quote, this is the one I like, and this maybe explains what's going on. The heroes of declining nations are always the same: the athlete, the singer, the actor. The word celebrity today is used to designate a comedian or a football player, not a statesman, a general, or a literary genius. So maybe that's what's explaining that. Oh, wow, you found it. And so maybe that's what's explaining this. Maybe this isn't misdirection. Maybe we're just getting it from the wrong sources.
The heroes of declining nations are always the same: the athlete, the singer, the actor. When was this written? In the 70s?
70s.
The word celebrity.
So that might be an explanation. It's either misdirection or inevitable because we're looking at the wrong people for our information.
Not a statesman, a general, or have we even had a literary genius lately? I can't think of any.
There's been a shortage of them.
A statesman. There's a shortage of statesmen, too, or stateswomen, women, whatever you want.
And so when you get all your information from athletes.
Well, we
dancers
are
and
so this
singers.
is another thing, right? We're always interested in what these celebrities have to say about things.
Why is that?
For the life of me, I don't know. I remember I saw an interview one time with Brad Pitt. This is some years ago, and they were asking him something about whatever was going on in the news at the time, politics, and he said, he goes, well, "What are you asking me for? I'm an actor."
Right.
But we really care what they think about things.
Speak for yourself.
We society, yeah, I don't care, but or the athletes, right? What about the last few years, like the athletes in professional American sports are using their platform to stop games and stop like they're kind of throwing their weight around related to especially the NFL, because they get the most weight to throw around, and in relation to whatever things that they
I get it.
get it. You guys got it? Yeah. So why is that? You're the guest. I'm supposed to ask the questions. You're supposed to have answers.
Apparently, that's just a characteristic of societies that are in decline.
All right. So Trevor, why is our society in decline? Our nation. Declining nation.
Do you want the cultural reason or the spiritual reason?
Let's start with the cultural reason. Let's start with the cultural reason. Yeah. We'll save the spiritual reason for the back porch episode. We'll do the cultural reason.
I think just asking why is not specific. If you're talking like symptoms, reasoning, then I'd say it's probably globalism is the
You're anti-globalism?
yes.
Well, define. What do you mean by globalism? So you're big. So Dan's big on global free market trade,
Right, because
but
if
that's
you
not
had-
the same as globalism.
Isn't?
But you mean by globalism, you mean like a move toward like uniform global control, right?
I think the less amount of people doing things together is better.
Well, that's probably true.
No.
For a long time,
We're
we
better
had the
together.
Industrial Revolution. And
Sure. Well, but it's true that the larger groups, so larger groups of people have a harder time than smaller groups of people. I mean, that's just math.
Oh, as capitalists, we believe in specialization because that is how you get optimization, which
Right.
is how you get productivity, which is how you have grown to live in the land of plenty.
But specialization is a way of taking large groups of things and
Making them all cooperate.
No,
So
you're breaking it up into
I'm
different
building
pieces.
robots. You're raising cows. We swap robots for
Right,
cows. Life's
you're
good.
segmenting, right? You're not really all trying to do the same thing. You're segmenting. You're taking a large
No,
population.
but it forces
you're
everyone to
segmenting it.
cooperate. I like that.
Does it force everyone to cooperate?
Oh yeah. Otherwise, you don't get any robots. I don't get any cows. So that's.
I don't know. Our system today seems to say that whatever you don't have, we'll just give you.
Somebody has to create all these tangible goods, and then to motivate people to do that is the free market system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't print money. I mean, you can print money, but you can't print food. You can't print energy. You can't print houses.
Yeah,
You can't
yeah.
print cars.
Right. Okay. So let's go back to this nation in decline thing. I've maintained for some period of time. By the way, how are we doing on time, Trev? I noticed that our little thing's not going.
yeah, I kind of wanted to see how long you guys go. It's 35 minutes.
35 minutes. All right. So I've been saying for a few years now, and sometimes people look at me like, there's a lot of similarities between like the United States of America right now and Rome at a certain point in the history of ancient Rome. There's a lot of similarities.
Why? It sounds like you're quoting from this paper I have here.
Go for it.
That's if you go in here and it talks about the duration of all of these empires. It's
Yeah, what does he say about Rome?
let's see here, Roman Empire, 207 years.
But, well, no. Well, it depends on which. So there was
The Roman Republic.
there was the Republic, and then there was the Empire, then it was a Republic again, and
440
right,
all in.
yeah. What was the what caused the downfall? I mean,
Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create. Help me with this.
You know, Dan, I think every opinion of yours I've seen on a poster in Hobby Lobby.
And I'm not getting a penny off that. That's the problem.
actually, though, that's a little bit of Jordan Peterson there, though, too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, so one of the so people have written, PhD theses on why Rome fell. So it's complicated. But one of the prevailing themes is they got to where they had no more enemies. They had no more. It was always Rome against somebody, and then once it became, and the citizens became like life was too cushy, life was too easy, and so that leads to, basically
Weak men.
being preoccupied with all the wrong shit, right? Not having. I mean, once Carthage was no longer a threat.
Well, we'll see how long this modern monetary theory will last. What are we at? $31 trillion national debt. It's going to come home to roost.
So modern monetary theory. Are you talking about something really recent, or are you talking about everything that started with John Maynard and his whole notion of monetary
I think
policy?
You can go right back to the Weimar Republic. They printed a little too much money, and so that didn't work out well. And then I've got the $10 trillion Zimbabwe bill when they printed too much money. That didn't go well. But we've got a new system called MMT, Modern Monetary Theory, which says apparently those were anomalies, and now we can print all we want.
Modern monetary theory. Try to pull up modern monetary theory.
There's no limit to the amount of money you can print.
But that's Keynesian, right? I mean, that's what Mr. Keynes.
I'm just saying that the root of inflation is too much money printing.
It is a heterodox macroeconomic theory that maybe public.
So my definition of inflation is too many dollars chasing too few goods. If you keep printing dollars and you don't create goods, you have inflation. I know the Fed has mandated a 2% inflation rate. So I'm surprised they don't come and talk to me, because my whole mission in life is to create productivity. And productivity reduces cost.
Well, okay, but
so I'm like anti-inflation.
But here's the thing. So all of those, so that point of view assumes that. So if you're criticizing the people who are behind things like modern monetary theory, it assumes that their goals, that their objectives are, in fact, to somehow try to make the economy better and make life better for people. But what if that's not their objective?
What if that's just naive and stupid, and it's like giving them a big credit card and they can party? No, this is exactly what's happening. They're going to party hardy on that credit card until the bill comes due.
Or what if they're trying to create a weak society that can't?
Oh no, I'm not that cynical.
Can't live on its own?
You think they're malevolent? I think they're just stupid.
Well, who was it that said never attribute to malice what could be explained by stupidity?
Precisely.
However, like the people who come up with this shit, are they really stupid?
Well, it didn't work for the Weimar Republic, didn't work for Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Why will it work for us? As long as we're the reserve currency for the world, it will.
Maybe it did work, depending on what your objectives were.
Is it short-term or long-term?
No, I mean, is your objective to basically create a society that's weak and needs to be controlled by somebody, or is your society,
Now you're getting cynical and conspiracy again on me.
So there has never been a time in recorded history when there wasn't somebody who wanted to control the world. Somebody has always wanted to control the world. So there's no reason why we should think that today there isn't somebody who wants to control the world. Because there always has been, right?
Well, I believe in evolution, and I'm not sure that the humans are qualified. We weren't designed for running.
No, but it doesn't mean that somebody's not trying, right?
No, I think it's stupidity. I'm back to stupidity.
Stupidity. Trev, what do you think? Stupidity or dumb as a fox? By the way, Trevor is the resident conspiracy theorist.
Stupidity
or dumb as a fox. Dumb as a fox is a old saying.
It's a sly, right?
It's a boomer thing. Yeah.
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 No, I think there's bad people out there, and they figured out how to utilize the world to their means.
I'm not going to say they're bad. I'm going to say they're short-sighted. Which is
unless your objective is to. It depends on what your objective.
Short-sighted. Every politician that gets into office all of a sudden forgets about the evils of national debt, and they run up. You give them a credit card and they run up the debt. And as long as they're there won't be any repercussions.
Yeah, but
so I think it's all short-sightedness.
Well, short-sighted implies that there's some sort of long-term good that you're ignoring.
Oh yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
However, if your real objective is to please please your owners, so if your owners are, to borrow from George Carlin, if your owners are the special interests and the big corporations and the big money and the big then maybe your evil plan is working. Maybe you're doing exactly what you want to do.
I think it's like giving a credit card to your irresponsible nephew, and he's going to be irresponsible, and that's what buys votes too. So all of a sudden you've solved your own problem.
Perhaps.
Okay, can I throw something in here?
Go ahead,
Mr. Dan.
Yes,
How
sir.
high up do you think level of power goes in, for example, our country?
There's a fellow named Eisenhower, and he warned us about the military-industrial complex. And then there was another fellow called Mussolini who said that fascism is nothing but the cooperation between corporations and the state. So Eisenhower had warned us, and here we are.
Military
Warned us
industrial.
about what? Like what level? So you're saying that you attribute a lot of it to just a dumb kid with a credit card, and I think that's true. But then I think there could be levels above that, people who are utilizing
like things behind the things.
Follow the money.
Yeah, well, sure, follow the money.
Yeah. So how far can you follow the money? And when you get to the end of that, do you know it doesn't go any farther?
The Rothschilds. It all goes back to the Rothschilds.
It's them. Huh?
Yeah. Well, it's a good question. Like how like who's really. It's funny. Like it seems like lately every conversation that we have on the show all ends up with who's really behind the thing, behind the thing, behind the thing. Like who's really controlling things? Because it just seems like are we really this dumb, or is it misdirection?
What was it? Jefferson said, when people realize they can vote themselves entitlements, that will herald the end of the republic.
Yeah. When they can vote themselves. Was that Jefferson or was that in Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations?
Look it up.
People until they figure out that they can vote themselves money.
When they figure out
that they can vote themselves money. Yeah.
This will herald the end of the republic.
Yeah.
And so I think
I would argue that the republic ended a long time ago, but
it's still a republic.
at least in terms of functionally. Like we stopped functioning as a republic a long time ago, I think. We started functioning as a national government.
Worst system in the world except for all the others.
Winston Churchill. But Goodreads is over capacity. How does it? Yeah.
Who was I quoting?
Yeah. All right, we got to wrap this up. What's Dan's
so read these two and then
the
get
moral
back
of
with
the
me.
story is what?
Think for yourself.
You read all this stuff. Like what do you do as a result of reading all this in your life?
You get a better.
No, what do you do?
I get a better view of the world, and so I read the spectrum all the way from Democracy Underground to Breitbart, and then you apply a correction factor to each one, and then you read. I read economics.
Alex
I read
Jones.
geopolitics.
Any Alex Jones in there?
Yeah, and so I'm trying to understand the world.
Yeah. So what's one of the most recent new understanding? Like what's something recent that you've, as old as you are, still understanding the world? What's like a recent aha moment that you had?
Peter Zeehan's previous book, Disunited Nations, where he talked about the future of each nation. You know, people are very concerned about China right now.
Mm-hmm.
Peter's not, because he's convinced that the errors they made with the one-child policy
It's
will
going
come
to catch
home
up
to
to
roost.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that one kind of surprised me, but it had the ring of truth, so I suspect he's right. And so, but then I look past even this, and so the reason we have so many old people now is because we're not having any babies, and you old people aren't dying. Okay,
Canada figured that out.
and so, but think about it. At some point, you old people are going to die.
Yeah.
So it's a self-limiting problem, just like it took 40 years for the one-child policy to start to cause problems.
Cause problems, right?
40 years from now, it'll be self-correcting, and then people will start having kids again. Mark my words. Let's get back together in 40 years.
40 years?
Deal?
I mean, I'll be 70.
So Dan,
Yes, sir.
What does a better understanding of the world get you?
Hmm.
So why bother with a better understanding?
Maybe it's better to just be blissfully ignorant.
You got to understand. You know what my focus is? You know what keeps me up at night is being an entrepreneur. You're all of a sudden responsible for, in my case, 65 families. And so what affects that? That's geopolitics. That's the world economy. So I've got to be able to predict. Otherwise, I'm not a good steward for 65 families.
It's interesting that I've heard you say this before, refer to 65 families, and you always say families. You never say 65, people or whatever, or however many people, employees.
You don't like
have.
kids?
No, this is a good thing.
Right.
You're the only person because most people who own a company or run a company always refer to how many employees they have. And you always refer to how many families you have. I think that shows a different level of...
Or you starve the employee, you starve the whole family.
Yeah.
Funny how that works.
Yeah.
I think that's significant, and people need to be aware of it. And so that's why I'm trying to plan. That's why I read economics. That's why I read, because I'm trying to look into the future. How do I plan? What do I do? How do I prepare?
Because people are depending on you. Yeah. Have you thought about running for office? Because we could use...
Too many skeletons in the closet.
We could use some people that actually give a shit. I think the problem with the people running for office isn't that they don't care. It's that they have particular things that they care about, and it's not necessarily representing the best interests of the people that elected them. So you could be that kind of a boss, right? There's a lot of people that own companies, but their objective isn't necessarily to take the very best care of the people, of the families that work for them.
They probably have more money.
It's kind of giving you a compliment.
Yeah, well, I bet
know
they
it
have more
feels
money
weird
than I.
because it never happens.
Yeah, and they're winning because they have more money than me, but that's okay.
Yeah.
When I'm old and gray, too late. I already am.
Yeah.
Qualified for Medicare last month, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
I'll sleep better at night. Way.
With the medication that they give you when you're on Medicare.
Okay, so then another thing on top of that.
Yes, sir.
Because this is something I've seen highly debated now. So then why... So you want to get a better understanding of the world, to be a better steward. So why is it important to be a better steward, or just a steward at all? Why is it? What is the ultimate benefit of helping other people?
The only thing there is in the world is people, and so that's what I'm concerned with.
So then, but then why does that take? How does that give it value? Just because
Oh, now you're asking a hard question.
No, that's how I value myself. Is how do you take care of others?
Oh, so like that little thing you mentioned earlier.
Do unto others as you would have them do
Yeah.
unto you.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah.
Down here we say it a little differently. It's a don't do no deal you wouldn't give or take either side of. But then somebody else paraphrased it differently. But that's the same meaning.
So is this? So you said this is debated now. What's the debate?
It's
I thought I had it
On it.
No. Okay. What's the debate? So I'm not familiar with this debate in the public square.
It's just part of the whole all the arguments and conversations around the ultimate good and how do you value things? In environmentalism, you've got.
Right.
nature being the good. We have to take care of Earth, so we have to do X.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you might say, okay, we should eliminate all fossil fuels. Well, hang on a minute. It's energy that gives us the quality of life we have, the land of plenty, the medications, the ability to travel, the leisure time, and all that. So what's the greater good? That's what I look at everything with. What is the greater good? Because everything involves compromise. And so I think the greater good is this modern society that we've created. And the downside of it is when we burn fossil fuels, we get CO2, which the plants seem to enjoy, but that's another issue.
So So what he's getting into is there's a lot of this is really weird for old guys like you and me, because to us it seems so self-evident that like the things that you're talking about are what we ought to be focused on. But there are these like new, more modern ways of thinking, like these people that say are trying, these anti-natalists. There's a billboard on 290. Stop having kids. So I went to their website, like, what are these people all about? And basically their whole premise is we need to, like humans need to apply our resources, our time and money and everything toward taking care of what already exists and not making new people. So they want us to like stop making new people and take care of like the animals and the environment and the right? So that's just one example, but there's a lot of things now where people are like, no. The most important thing is not the greater good of the people. The most important thing is to stop climate change or to, whatever all the different.
You can't work in a vacuum like that. You have to look at the big picture, and that's why I like Peter's books. He looks at the big picture, and I think that's the way you have to look at everything.
Yeah. But that never gets you. That never, looking at the big picture never satisfies.
And I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna reassure you. Okay, in engineering, we look for negative feedback, and that's not like when you criticize me. And what I'm talking about negative feedback is, as a motor spins faster, the tachometer sends the signal back with the speed.
Yeah.
And then when that feedback comes back and is equal to the command speed, the motor just runs at that speed. That's called negative feedback. Okay. So, like, for example, if you create a lot of CO2, then the plants flourish.
Right.
Negative feedback.
Right.
Okay. Well, why are people not having as many kids? Well, back, in the olden days, kids were a resource.
Yeah.
Now they're a luxury. Okay. And so we haven't had kids because they're a luxury rather than a resource. You don't need them on the farm because you ain't got a farm. Okay. Hang in there with me.
I'm with you.
Okay. And so we're not having kids. Okay. So once the population diminishes, then maybe there'll be a reason to have kids. But that's why population is diminishing. So there's negative feedback.
Yeah, you could argue that even
it's taking care of the population. All is well.
Not even so much that kids are a luxury, but we have the luxury of not needing them, and because we're more we're more interested in our own self-centered happiness, whatever. That I'm deciding not to have children because. Like I figured out how I want my life to be in that state.
Because you don't need any little, I don't need little laborers right there in the family anymore.
Exactly. Is that where you're getting at, Trev? Or did I go off on a tangent? Probably went off on a tangent.
But I'm just saying, don't worry. Negative feedback is going to take care of things.
You think so?
Right. So, we had too many people. I tend to agree. Life became too easy.
Do we have too many people? What made it? What was too many people?
I don't know. Our population has grown a bunch, and so humans, that is. And so now,
there's space.
We quit having
it's not
kids,
like we're running out of space.
It's self-limiting. So I'm not worried.
Okay, not worried. Anyone else worried?
I heard an interesting story. They were planting all the pine trees in East Texas, and then they had a pine bark beetle infestation problem. But somebody commented that it wasn't really a pine bark beetle plague; it was a plague of pine trees, and the pine bark beetles were doing the best they could to solve the problem.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that the East Texas pines are not native.
No, it's a monoculture, and monocultures aren't good. But that's another story.
That's another episode. All right. So what do we learn here?
Go read
Go read
Zion. Go read Glub.
Hey, Mr. Dan.
Oh, Trevor's got one. I keep trying to wrap this up.
No, to wrap it up.
Okay, wrap it up.
Please,
Wrap it up.
please,
So,
be merciful.
The young
My drink is
people-
gone.
From the young people in the back. What?
By the way, you're an indulgence. You're no longer a necessity. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Story of my life. What do you have to tell the young person who is too caught up in juggling all the different greater goods?
Like, what should I care about? Young people are having a lot of anxiety about, like, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about this, I'm worried
I
about
can
this.
tell you, the next time I have an original opinion will be the first. And so what I'll tell you is to read other people's opinions. And if it has a ring of truth, do not hesitate to question your opinions.
Yeah. Is that good? He's giving us a thumbs up. It's funny because I'm going to throw this one thing in, but we also, another product of the current culture, society is it seems to me, we often have skepticism about all the wrong things. So just the same way that you said, like, we have the wrong things in the spotlight, we also, like, there are certain things that we ought to be skeptical about I'm saying we, the greater we right here, that we ought to be at least allowed to question, and that skepticism and that debate gets shut down as being anti-science or anti-this or anti-good or anti-marshmallows or whatever the hell it is, right? And then over here, the things that are actually, like, obvious, like societal norms, that now we're standing on its head and being skeptical about and saying, oh, no, we had it wrong all along. I could throw out a whole bunch of examples, but you know what I'm saying, right? Is that, yeah. So now you have to figure out, like, which things to be skeptical about. I think it's just really, like, have a brain, for God's sake. Just, like, think for a second.
And allow yourself to be wrong.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And if you learn that you were wrong,
yeah.
When Bush 2 invaded Iraq, I scraped the W sticker off my bumper.
Yeah? Yeah, that seemed like it was a mistake.
We finish wars. We don't start them.
Yeah. Well, that, in theory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're familiar with the term yellow dog Democrat, though. Then that's the problem is, in Texas, if you run a yellow dog, it'll be elected. So...
I don't know that one.
Oh yeah, no, that's the old theory is, if you're a yellow dog Democrat, you'll vote for the Democrat candidate no matter what. And I was a Democrat, and if RFK gets a lot further, I might become a Democrat again.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, don't stick with the dogma of of any specific group. Go your own way.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. All right, are we done? Are we wrapping? That's it. We're finished. Good stuff.
Done.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
May I come back again?